guys, it's time for some tips and tricks. We have looked into some various amazing tips and tricks till now, and it's time for tip number 6. Today we are going to look something into conditional formatting. As the name itself suggests, conditional formatting symbolizes formatting of data based on a particular set of conditions that you provide and you want to represent. By now you might have already recognized this data as the student database project, which we had already done before. We are going to learn conditional formatting with respect to this data. A link for this particular project and this particular file will be put into this particular description of this particular video. So let's start with learning conditional formatting. The conditional formatting option can be found out inside the Home tab. You can find the conditional formatting option over here. Before you start doing anything, you might want to go and select the kind of data that you want to represent using conditional formatting. In this particular case, I'm just going to try and select one single column of marks. Let's say I'm going to select the subject English in this particular case. I am selecting the subject English for all the particular students. We are going to try and understand a little bit of variation that can be represented through formatting, that is conditional formatting. So there are a lot of options inside conditional formatting, as you can see on the screen. We are going to start with some of the easiest options that you can understand. The first option that I would like you guys to understand is something called as a data bar. The data bar represents using histogram like color fills to represent the quantity of data present in that particular cell. So I'm going to select any one of the color schemes over here just to give you an example. So if my entire cell is considered as one unit, or you can say the entire value of the cell is like 100, then 73 is represented by a color fill till the location marks the number. Similarly, 89 in this case and 96, which is occupying moreover the entire cell. So this is a very good and a graphical way of representing various numbers using data fill techniques, which is basically kind of something which visually appeals rather than looking at numbers. So if you want to undo all these particular formattings that you have done to this particular cells, all you got to do is go and select the entire cell where the formatting is applied, go to the conditional formatting tab and go and select clear rules from that particular list, and you can select clear rules from the selected cells. So there you go, the formatting is removed from this particular cells. Let's try and see a very different technique now. Now I want you to learn something where you can format the cells based on the kind of values that you would want to see. As in this case, we are working with a student database project, and I want to see and highlight the number of students who are actually failing in subjects. Let's say I don't know that how many students are failing in particular subjects. My formulas are calculating the students who are getting above 40 should be considered as pass, and the students who are getting below 40 should be considered as a failure. If I tell you to look at this data, just the mark itself, and directly try and point out how many students have been failing in subjects, it becomes a tedious task to look at the data one by one and analyzing and giving an output like how many students might be actually failing or passing. So why not we try and directly use the conditional formatting to highlight a particular set of cells wherein the students are actually failing. So we can do that quite easily. All you got to do is go and select the data. I'm not selecting the headers in this case, guys. I'm just selecting the data. I'm going to go to the conditional formatting tab, and directly now I'm going to go into something called as new rule. The new rule consists of all the options in all the tabs that you can see above. So we are going to try and understand the new rule in depth. So I'm going to go and click in new rule. As I click on new rule, I get a dialog box which opens. Now the dialog box has a lot of options in them. The first option says select the rule type. In the rule type, you have a set of options which says format all cells based on their values, format all cells that contain, format only the top and bottom ranked values, which you have already found that in the list above, format only the values that are above or below average, or format the unique and duplicate values, and format a formula to determine which cells to format. So we can use any of these values to get what we want in this particular case. Our option that we wanted right now is to highlight the cells where the students are getting less than 40. For that case, I'm going to go into specifically go into the second option, and I'm going to select format only cells with cell value, let's say less than 40. So format only cell values less than 40. And in the format section, you can see in the preview, you can find the format tab over here, click on the format button, and you can use any of the fill options to highlight the particular text. For instance, I want to change the text to bold. Wherever the student is getting less than 40, I want to change the text to bold, and I want to change the color of the font to say red. There you go. All you got to do is just give an OK symbol and press OK again. So there you go. You can see the highlighted text which are represented by the red marks. I'm going to go particularly and try and fail a particular student. Let's say I put a 30 over here. You can see the student is highlighted immediately in this case. Now, conditional formatting is also used for reducing the number of errors that come during data entry process as also. Specifically, if in this case, in schools and colleges or any kind of place where data has to be entered regularly, and students or teachers or anyone who is going to try and enter the particular data in these particular cells make mistakes while doing an entry. In order to avoid such kind of an entry on any kind of data, I'm not just talking about a student database in this case, whereas we might work with various corporate data, various financial data, and most of the data we already have a bound that is set to an upper limit or are set to a lower limit. So once you know the bound, all you got to do is create a conditional formatting to highlight those data in order to avoid these kind of errors. So let's try and understand one such error. If by mistake any teacher or the one who is entering data in this particular case enters a value greater than 100, let's say 110, it's all by mistake. Again, in another cell, we have a student or the teacher entering a mark, let's say about 130. The student might not be actually getting 110 and 130, but the marks are entered here. So we can use conditional formatting to avoid the errors happening at the source, that means at the time the data is being entered. I'm going to go to the conditional formatting in this case. I'm going to go to new rule again as I did earlier on. I'm going to go to the second option again as the one I had done earlier on. Format only cell that contains cell value, and I can say greater than 100 in this case. So any value above 100 should raise a flag. So in this case, the flag that I want to raise in this case is I want to highlight the cell with a yellow color. So there you go, guys. A flag has been raised with yellow color. So let's look at using the same option with a different set of data. In this case, I'm going to go to the right side, and in this particular column, I want to highlight the students who are actually failing and format the cells showing the students failing by a red color. And this should happen automatically whenever a student is marked as fail or the formula is deriving the student as fail. The student should be marked with a color filled with red and formatted in that particular way. So let's try and understand using conditional formatting. I'm going to go do the same procedure. I'm going to go to the conditional formatting tab. I'm going to go to the new rule option. I'm going to select the second option in this case, and I'm going to select format only cells that contain specific text in this case. That means I want to highlight the cells where the cell shows the value fill, right? So I want to format them and fill the color over here with red. All I got to do is give an OK, and there you go. I'm going to change the marks of one of the students, let's say 12. You can see one of the students is again failing. I'm going to change the marks of another set of student, let's say 25 in this case, and there you go. The conditional formatting works quite well. Let's try and understand another option inside conditional formatting. I'm going back to the side of the data which shows me the marks of the students. I'm going to select one of the columns here again, and in this particular column I am going to give another conditional formatting. So for that, I'm going to go to conditional formatting. I'm going to go to the new rule tab, and I'm going to go to the third option right now, which says format only top or bottom ranked values. In this case, I want to see who are the students in the top 5 marks category. That means I want to highlight the cells with the students who are getting the top 5 marks in that particular subject. I'm going to go to the format tab, and I'm going to give a particular color that I want to represent the data with, and give an OK sign. So there you go. I have highlighted cells having the top 5 marks in. I'm going to try out a different option again inside conditional formatting, where other column of another subject. I'm going to go and select the second column of the subject Hindi. In the conditional formatting option, you can see highlight cell rules. In the cells rule, you can find all the options which we have already seen inside the new rule tab. There are the top and bottom rules which we can use in this case. If I want to say use the top 10 items in this case, I'm going to select the top 10 items. You can see the top 10 values are highlighted directly from here. A dialog box pops up and tells us to point out how many values actually we want to represent. So in this case, I just want to say represent just 5 values of the top numbers in this case. So you can see the top 5 values are represented in this case. You can also see the previous conditional formatting, which represents 110, is overlapped by the new conditional formatting, which happens a lot in this case. So you have to be careful while assigning a conditional formatting and make sure that that particular data has a different conditional formatting. The two fields will always replace each other, so always try and give a different kind of conditional formatting if you want to make both of them visible at the same set of data. Now I'm going to go and select the third column in this case of students. I'm going to again try and use another conditional formatting in this case. Let's say I want to highlight the bottom 10 items, or you can say the students who are above average. Or in this cells, you can see it has highlighted the students who are getting above average. In sense, it is going to highlight the top 10 values received in that particular column. Again, I'm going to go and select the third or the fourth column in this case, and let's try and do another kind of conditional formatting. Inside the conditional formatting tab, you can find another option called as the color scales. The color scales represent different kinds of colors for different kinds of data. A gradient map is created with the warmest colors for the lowest values and the lightest colors for the highest values. Similarly, different color scales are created with different kinds of values. You can create your own color scale based conditional formatting for that particular session. Similarly, I'm going to try and go for the icon sets over here. In the icon sets, you can create something called as a flag in this case. A flag is something which you can create to mark out different kinds of data. You can see different data is represented by different flag numbers. This data, however, doesn't make sense using these particular set of flags. Hence, we are not going to use the flags with these kind of data. Flags are usually marked with respect to financial data. To see an inconsistency in data, a flag is used. To see whether the data is trending towards an up direction, a arrow mark in this particular case can be used. If the data is trending towards a downward direction or it is going flat, the arrow marks will denote that particular change using directional conditional formatting. A lot of calculations and formulas are done in the background to give you this particular output. All you got to do is select the data and apply the conditional formatting from the icon sets that are provided here. However, this data doesn't suit this kind of conditional formatting, and hence we are not going to use it. How about looking at all the rules in one particular place? The conditional formatting also has an option. The last option that you can find is called as managing rules. The managing rules allows you to see all the conditional formattings you have given till now. It also allows you to delete a selected rule, not all the rules, delete a selected rule if you want, or if you want to stop that particular rule being applied onto that particular column. However, if you want to increase the column size to where the range of that particular formula is applied, again that is possible using the Manage tab inside conditional formatting. So don't forget to check out these options, guys, and I would want you guys to practice out different kinds of conditional formatting that you can do with these kinds of data. If any kind of error pops up or you want to have any kind of query sorted out with regards to any option inside conditional formatting, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be going in much depth on the conditional formatting topic when we are going into some financial projects in the future. We have done one project till now, and we are looking up to 12 to 13 more projects which will be coming up one by one onto this particular channel. So stay tuned for these kind of financial projects, which is going to be very interesting. At the same time, we are going to put projects based on various job criteria like an HR or an office receptionist or an office desk job or a back office executive or a software developer or a software tester or a web digital marketer or any kind of person. What are the types of data these guys will be working on? So stay tuned for such kind of projects too. So that's it, guys, for today's session. For all your queries, please mention that in the comment section below. Do give a feedback wherever you feel like, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay home, stay safe. Ciao.